Today we are going to recap the 2014 film Kingsman: The Secret Service. Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. The film begins in 1997 with a helicopter flying into a Middle Eastern compound. Inside, four men capture a terrorist leader and tie him to a chair. One of them, Harry Hart, codenamed Galahad, threatens the terrorist to get answers. However, the terrorist reveals a grenade pen in his mouth, triggering a countdown. In a selfless act, Harry's comrade Lee jumps onto the terrorist, absorbing the explosion and sacrificing his life to save Harry. Harry's remaining partners, Merlin and Leno, remove their masks and reflect on Lee's bravery. Later, Harry inducts Lee's son, Gary, into the Kingsman Agency. Afterward, Harry visits Lee's widow, Michelle, to inform her of his death. He gives her a Medal of Valor in Lee's honor, explaining that she can use the number on the back if she ever needs help, and should use the phrase, "Oxford's not broses," to identify herself. Michelle refuses the medal, but Harry passes it on to Lee's son Gary, who is also known as Eggsy. 17 years later in Argentina, Professor James Arnold is held captive by a group of thugs. Eggsy arrives swiftly, eliminating the captors before helping himself to a drink. However, as he opens the door, he is killed by a woman with razor-sharp prosthetic legs, Gazelle. She lets in her boss, billionaire Richmond Valentine, who takes Arnold with them. In London, Harry visits the tailor shop that serves as a front for the Kingsman Secret Service headquarters. The Kingsman Agency was founded by British elites after World War I as a private intelligence service. Inside, Harry meets with Merlin and their leader, Arthur, to mourn Lano's death. They suspect that the incident is linked to tragedies in Uganda and Chisha. The film shifts to Eggsy, now in his early 20s, living with his mother, her abusive partner Dean, and his babysitter in a rundown flat. Feeling trapped, Eggsy steals a car from Dean's goon and takes it for a joyride with his friends. When the police arrive, Eggsy crashes the car and urges his friends to flee, choosing to face the consequences alone. He is soon arrested and threatened with an 18-month prison sentence unless he gives up his friends. While in the police station, Eggsy pulls out the Medal of Valor and dials the number on the back, reciting the phrase, "Oxford's not broses." Shortly after, Harry bails him out and takes him to a nearby pub. There, Dean's thug confronts Eggsy. Despite Harry's polite request for them to leave, the thug smacks him. Annoyed, Harry locks the door and says, "Manners maketh man," using his umbrella. Harry swiftly takes down the thug, leaving Eggsy stunned by his combat skills. Before leaving, Harry makes Eggsy promise to keep what he witnessed a secret. When Eggsy returns home, Dean confronts him about the stolen car using a microphone hidden on Eggsy's jacket. Harry overhears the confrontation and threatens Dean with legal action if he doesn't release Eggsy. Dean backs down, and Eggsy agrees to meet Harry at the tailor shop. There, Harry invites Eggsy to join the Kingsman Agency, just as his father once did. Eggsy accepts and is taken to a secret underground facility where he meets other recruits, including Roxy, who becomes his friend, and Charlie, who mocks him. Later, Harry runs into Professor Arnold, who is mysteriously freed by his captors. When Harry questions him about his kidnapping, Arnold suddenly screams in pain before his head explodes, releasing a strange fluid. Two thugs burst in, and Harry narrowly escapes by detonating a grenade and jumping out of the window. However, the blast leaves him sick and in a coma. Valentine, upon hearing of Arnold's death, grows suspicious and begins investigating who is meddling in his plans. Meanwhile, the Kingsman recruits are put to the test during a nightmare exercise where their sleeping chambers fill with water. While most recruits scramble for air by accessing the toilet pipes, Eggsy tries to open the door but fails. He then swims to a glass panel, breaking it to release the water. Merlin, who had been monitoring the test, commends Eggsy's effort but scolds the group for failing to work together, which leads to the death of one recruit, Amelia. In another scene, Valentine and Gazelle have dinner with the Scandinavian princess and the Prime Minister. Valentine outlines his plan to combat climate change, which the Prime Minister dismisses as insane. As she tries to leave, Gazelle kidnaps her and kills the guard with her deadly prosthetic legs. Meanwhile, the recruits are tasked with training a puppy as part of their Kingsman training. Eggsy is given a small dog that doesn't respond well to his commands at first. Over time, they bond, and Eggsy names the dog JB after Harry. After recovering from his coma, Harry, Merlin, and Eggsy discover that Professor Arnold had a chip implanted in his neck which caused his head to explode. They also notice that the Scandinavian Prime Minister has a similar scar behind his ear, indicating he has the same chip. Merlin suspects Valentine is responsible, especially since he recently met with the Scandinavian Prime Minister. Eggsy shows them a video from Valentine's latest event, where he announced a global giveaway of free SIM cards, raising suspicion that Valentine is also behind the abduction of several international leaders and celebrities. Harry goes undercover to Valentine's estate to investigate further. During dinner, where they eat McDonald's and discuss their shared love of James Bond movies, Harry gathers little useful information. However, he notices an emblem of a hate group church in Kentucky among Valentine's staff. Later, the remaining recruits, Eggsy, Roxy, Charlie, and 3 of Charlie's friends, are assigned a mission to skydive and land on a target. During the jump, one recruit panics and opens their parachute early. Eggsy takes charge, leading the group to hold hands. In the end, only Eggsy, Roxy, and Charlie land on the target while the others are eliminated from the competition. At the Kingsman tailor shop, Harry leads Eggsy into a room filled with various weapons disguised as everyday objects, including a grenade disguised as a lighter, a pen that injects poison, and chewing gum with poison-tipped blades. They then discover Valentine and Gazelle waiting for them in the launch. Valentine is trying on one of the shop's suits as part of their next test. Eggsy, Roxy, and Charlie are sent to a nightclub to charm a young woman. However, their drinks are drugged, and Eggsy wakes up tied to railway tracks. An interrogator tries to extract information about the Kingsman and Harry, but Eggsy refuses, even as a train approaches. At the last moment, he's pulled to safety. Harry later informs Eggsy that both he and Roxy passed, but Charlie failed and has been dismissed. In their final test, Eggsy and Roxy are instructed to shoot their best dog. Eggsy hesitates and is unable to shoot his dog, while a gunshot is heard from Roxy's room. Failing the test, Eggsy is sent home by Arthur. Disappointed, he drives off in Arthur's car, only to find himself taken to Harry's home. Harry explains that the gun was unloaded and reveals that the recruit Amelia, who was believed to have drowned earlier, is actually a member of the Berlin Kingsmen. Harry expresses his disappointment but convinces Eggsy of his potential, while Roxy is officially made a Kingsman agent. Harry then travels to Kent to investigate the hate group church mentioned earlier. Valentine and Gazelle station nearby, preparing to activate a signal using Valentine's SIM card. When the signal is triggered, everyone in the church, including Harry, becomes violently enraged. Harry fights off the attackers with brutal efficiency, killing everyone inside the church. Outside, Valentine confronts Harry and explains that the SIM card signal induced aggression in its users. Valentine then shoots Harry in the head, killing him, while Eggsy, Merlin, and Arthur watch from a distance. Eggsy later returns to Arthur's office and toasts to Harry's memory. However, he notices the same scars behind Arthur's ears, revealing that Arthur is aligned with Valentine. Arthur attempts to poison Eggsy using a pen, but Eggsy cleverly switches their drinks, causing Arthur to die from his own poison. With new information, Eggsy, Merlin, and Roxy set out to stop Valentine's plan. Roxy is sent into the stratosphere with a balloon to launch a missile at one of Valentine's satellites, while Merlin and Eggsy infiltrate Valentine's headquarters. During a party, Eggsy gains entry using Arthur's invitation and passes by a princess held captive. He asks her for a kiss if he succeeds in saving the world, to which she promises more than just a kiss. Roxy successfully launches the missile, but one of her balloons ruptures due to the altitude. She manages to deploy her parachute and land safely. Meanwhile, Eggsy is confronted by Charlie, who holds a knife to his throat. Eggsy electrocutes Charlie with a ring and fights his way through Valentine's guards. Although Roxy's missile destroys one of Valentine's satellites, Valentine manages to activate the signal using another satellite. Chaos ensues around the world as people, including Eggsy's mother, turn violent. With time running out, Merlin triggers the implants in Valentine's associates, causing their hands to explode in a display of fireworks. Eggsy then confronts Valentine and Gazelle. After a fierce battle, Eggsy defeats Gazelle by using her poisoned prosthetic leg. He then kills Valentine by throwing Gazelle's severed leg at him, stopping the transmission and saving the world. Eggsy returns to the princess's cell, and as promised, they share an intimate moment. In the final scene of the film, Eggsy, now wearing a tailored suit, visits the pub where his mother and Dean are. He informs them that his new job has provided him with a better life, including a new home for his family. When Dean's thugs try to harass him, Eggsy locks the door and, echoing Harry's words, dispatches the thugs with the same finesse Harry once showed. And that's how the movie ends.